Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Airsoft. Today I'm going to be installing this Perun P90 Mosfet in this double bell P90. Hey guys, and welcome back. If you do enjoy this content today, please do consider liking, commenting and subscribing, because those interactions are going to help the channel get seen and grow. Click the link tree link down below. Will take you to all of my socials, including my Discord, which is a great community, and my merch store. And if you want to support the channel a little bit more, channel memberships are down below. Click the join button. 99p a month, custom videos, giveaways, own section in my Discord. Totally optional, really massively appreciated if you did do it. So I have been very lucky that Perun have asked me if I wanted a P90 and an AUG Mosfet. This is the other part of the video collection about the P90. This is the installation video itself. So I'm going to get that out of the way. And what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to release the upper receiver because we need that out of the way. But we won't need it for anything else. And then we're going to drop the bottom part out and we're going to remove the back plate from here. I'm just going to use a Phillips head just to remove the two Phillips screws that are holding this back plate in place. So there's one gone loose, there's the other one there. Do apologise if some of this is a little bit tricky to see. I will try and keep as much of it as humanly possible in line of sight because I'm literally keeping it up in the air whilst bending over a table. So this plate, now it's loose, just lifts, comes back towards you a little bit, it then comes up and out, and then I'm just going to release that. Now these screws in here at the minute can come out because we in theory shouldn't need them because of screws that are in the kit, and then I'm just going to allow the gearbox to gently slide out, there we go, on its own out the back like that. And the rest of the receiver at the minute we're not going to need. What I am going to do is I'm just going to lift the trigger bar up and let it go down and out the back because we no longer need this. This can basically go in the bin. So here's our gearbox. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove all of these mechanical contacts because we no longer need these mechanical contacts. So I'm just going to remove, in fact I want to switch to a bigger Phillips head, so I'm just going to remove these screws. This is pretty exciting. Now it's not the easiest of installs, but obviously the potential benefits that we gain from this are absolutely just phenomenal. So again, these screws are going to come out of the way. We shouldn't really need these screws at all. This one potentially we will do to put back in here. So I'll lift that out of the way. I'm going to disconnect that for now from there, and that one from there, and that's going to go. Again, we don't need that. What we're going to do is come around this side, and I'm going to pull down on this little spring here because we're going to be removing this cut-off lever. So I'm going to use quite a small flathead, and I'm going to be really careful to not let this spring disappear on me because I will need this spring. All I'm trying to do is just get that in there and unhook it off there. There we go. And I'm going to unscrew this. I'm going to need something finer. Unscrew this screw here. Keep hold of that screw because we will need that little screw. And for now, just so I know where it's come from, I'm going to put it with that lever. Now next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in our main board to fit. So I'm just going to snip this open. Just going to tear it carefully. It's in an anti-static bag to keep it safe, and there is our main board. Look at that bad boy. So this is just one of two boards. Now initially in my review I did think that this was a cable and a spare cable, but they are actually both needed and they are both the same length. So one is going to connect from the front here going forward to our trigger system. One's going to connect from the back here and come round and go in round to our control board that goes at the back. So next thing I'm going to do is I'll just tidy around a little bit. I've got some nuts and bolts here. I'm just going to get out. We've got a 22mm bolt there that we are going to use. Do you know what? I've used the wrong one. Oh, Pheas. I'm going to undo that screw. Silly me. That's gone. What I'm supposed to use is this longer screw. So I'm going to take the mounting parts off like that. Then I'm going to sink the screw in. Now this is going to go through and out the other side of the gearbox, and that's totally fine. That's exactly what we want to happen. So that's tightened down. That doesn't go anywhere easily, which is what we want. It's just a little bit of a nip. There we go. Just kind of trying to keep it as lined up, square with everything as I can. And then I'm going to flip it over. And what I need to do on this side is this is where I bring in all of these spacers to put back on. So I'm just going to drop this spacer on first onto the screw, and we can see that it's hanging through. There is then a screw, and I'm just going to tighten those down. Now what I'm going to go and get is, and it's times like this when you're happy that you've got lots of random tools, because you can find that you've got something that you needed. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it securely. I'm just going to tighten that down. There we go. And that's just going to stop anything from going anywhere at all. And that's exactly what we want. Get that out of the way. So I just got a socket on there and just tighten that down to keep it safe. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in their cut-off lever. So I've got their cut-off lever that's just going to sit in there, and what happens with this is that this pivots on here and just tells the gearbox when the cut-off has happened. So I thought I got a slight issue there, and what was happening is that the gear set underneath, the little catch that it's going to catch on underneath the sector gear to let it know that it's moved, was basically in a position where it was pushing it up like that. So I thought there was a bit of an issue. So basically what I've done is I've just removed the motor for now, rotated the gear set a little bit, removed the spring obviously as well, just so I can get that movement. So it should have, obviously once the screw's on, it should have movement like that. So I'm now going to bring the screw back in. So obviously we do these things so you can have a much easier install. So I'm just going to put that on there. So I'm going to tighten it down. Now it's important that once it's down, there's still free movement in there, which there absolutely is free movement in there of that. So I'm just looking for that free movement, and there is. And then I'm going to bring the little spring back in, which suddenly seems incredibly long. I can undo this little screw. I can put the spring in and in. And then put that down in there. Put that in its position. There we go. And then it's in position like that. and then save myself lots of hassle. Well, put that in place, hold that in. There we go. There we go. So we've now got the movement it needs to detect that movement. Absolutely happy. What I might need to do if there is issues is I might need to put a shim under there just to stop it, because it is jumping about a little bit, but then hopefully potentially the inside of the gearbox shell might keep that in place there quite happily, so it should be okay. So that's that part in and secured. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove this front screw here, and we've got two bolts to replace it with basically. So we're going to remove that one, get that out of the way, add that to our junk pile, and we've got one of two bolts here. So I'm going to take that out of there, I'm going to drop that in there and tighten it down again, T10, tighten that up, and then I'm going to bring in my socket, socket that I'm now no longer that impressed with because it looks like it's too big to get in there. It is. So I'm going to have to tighten that down with some pliers potentially to keep that secure. And then the other one is through here. So we'll just loosen these off. What I do like about this is that it does feel a little bit fiddly, and I totally get that. For this one, we're going to go reverse through this way. What I do like about this is, although it can feel a little bit fiddly in terms of that, obviously there's lots of bits to do. There's no actual modification of anything required. You know, we're not super gluing anything on or anything like that, and that counts for a lot. So that's that one done. Check that one's tight. That's that one tight. That's that one. Right, so I'm just going to get some nips to tighten those little bolts up, and then we can move on. So I've just got some needle nose pliers, and I'm just nipping them tight just so they're not going to sort of work loose whilst we're in there. So I am happy with that. Yeah, and it is correctly wiggling that about. Yeah, seen there that it did flick that as the gear set went past. So I am happy with that is working as it should do. Fantastic. So we are ready to move on. So the next stage then, we can actually bring our motor back in to this now. So bring the motor in, put it in there. That's a bit slidey. We've got one screw there. Got one screw up there. I've got one screw there. So there we are, we've got the motor back in, and what we can do now is we can wire these in as well if we choose. So just slot it onto the black terminal, the wiring comes round and back up out the way. We've then got the red terminal as well, which what I've done is the sort of the flattest side of the two. There's like, if you look in the connector itself, you can see there's the sort of curled over part. I'm putting the flat part down towards the motor just to give me the most possible room. just taking it off camera just to put the pressure on needed to secure that, and that then will come out the back there. Potentially just manipulate that. Might need to sort of bend these a little bit at a later stage just to get the wire out the way properly for the back plate to come in. That's absolutely fine. What I can also do at this stage is I can click the connector in, and it will only go in one way. So the metal contact parts are going down to the bottom there. And it should go in like that, and it should sit in, plugged in like that. And this is going to come out the back as well, because it's going to attach to a board out here on the back. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this wire to the front exactly the same. We've got the little metal exposed bits go down to the bottom, and we're just going to wiggle it into there. Just like that, nice and easy. Now this is going to be potentially a little bit of a pain to do this part. So what we're going to do is we're going to thread the gearbox and the wire forward and get the wire to come down this little hole here, down here. There you go, there you can see where my screwdriver is wiggling. So this might be a little bit of a have a go and see what happens scenario. So I'm just going to drop it down like that. No, we missed. We missed badly. So I'm just going to go and cry in a dark corner for 2 minutes and try again. Okay, wow, okay, I managed to do it. I actually managed to do it. Note the surprise in my voice at that. So the gearbox is in. There's the wire coming forward. Now at this point, what I'm going to do, just to help me out a little bit, is I think I'm going to sort of secure these down and secure the gearbox back. So I'm just going to put the spring back in. Obviously, if yours is not a quick change spring system, you won't be doing this part. Now, I will be coming back here in a minute to sort of undo this a little bit, I suppose. I'm just temporarily going to secure this down. I'm not even going to screw it in. I'm just going to put the base plate in. There we go. And if you can't tell, I am a little bit nervous about this. Now the black terminal is just ever so slightly in my way. So I'm just going to manipulate that out of the way a little bit. Now that should do enough of a job there just to keep everything sort of secure and from moving too much whilst I do this part. Now what I can see there is that this wire has perfectly gone to exactly where I want it to be coming forward out of here. So I'm ready now to do the trigger part of the installation. Okay, so slight change of pattern. I've flipped over that connector. The flat side is now on the outside and the curler in, just so I can get a little bit of bring that back in, so I can get a little bit of sort of angle on that to give me the room I need for obviously getting the back plate on. And it is actually now that we're supposed to put the back plate on. So I'm just going to see all this wiring up here above this screw like that, and I'm just going to drop that back in, but I've undone the front wiring. Ouch. So I'm just going to take this off camera again and fight with it one more time. And look at that, it has actually come the right way first time of taking it off camera. So I'm just going to keep manipulating it around where I want it to be. That's out of the way, that's out of the way. It's not quite dropped into position yet. There we go. So just manipulated it back into where it should be sitting, and I know it's in the right place because I've got the air nozzle is there. The wire has correctly come up this side here and coming forward, and it's going to sort of sit down here and plug into the control board in a minute. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bring the back plate in. Here's our back plate. I'm going to feed these two wires through here. One wire, two wires. I'm being very careful so as to not catch or compress any wires. I don't want anything sort of nipping or compressing or whatever. And then I'm going to just put those back there. There's literally nothing glamorous to see here. You're literally not missing out. It is just Pheas manipulating wires into place. So I might even do the same. You know what? I just realised that the red terminal from the motor is pushing against this back plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift this out a second, and I know that I've put it on the outside so I can bend that. In fact, I'm going to lift it out slightly, not too far as to cause many motor issues, but I'm just going to get some snips, needle nose on this terminal, and I'm just going to bend it. There we go. It's just giving me enough room that then it's not pushing against the back plate. There we go. So now we can go again. You in there and drop. Wire's still there. Everything's still in place. That's good. You go down there. You go around there. Right, so our back plate is now in place. Now, what I've got here, different to you guys, is that I've got this, and it sits slightly sort of extruded out from this plastic backboard. So I'm going to get the control board. So here we've got, there's part of the trigger system. I'll put that to one side. There's the control board I need, which should be absolutely fine to screw onto there. There's the other part of the trigger system. And there's nothing else left in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this and I'm going to sit it basically on there. And that's just going to, this board is going to have this connector into it, which I might do now actually. So again, we're going for the little metal contacts that are down. There is a button on that control board as well, which you're going to need later for part of programming. There we go. So that's in place, and then I'm just going to secure this down with, it must be these screws here. So drop that into place. Now I'm guessing, my theory is that these screws are non-magnetic. So I apologise if this is off camera a little bit. I will try and cover as much of it as I can whilst I'm doing it. So I'm just going to secure this control board down to this corner here with this Torx screw. There we go. So located it in. I'm just trying to find the threads. which I am struggling to locate at the minute. There we go. Now, so all I've done is I've just secured this board down using this screw here. When it focuses, there we go. And then there is another provided screw that goes in the other hole at the other side there. Now I'm guessing these are possibly non-magnetic, just to stop any interference with the boards and everything going off. So secure that down. There we go. Take that out, so that's not really moving, which is good. So we've now got everything coming forward to there, so we're now ready to do our trigger install. So I kind of jumped the gun a little bit there with without realizing I wasn't recording. So I've picked up this trigger unit, and the little screw sinks down into this bit here. Now what I did noticed is on this double eagle, my bad, double bell, the plastic frame here is a touch thicker than what I think it is on a TM. So I had to push down a little bit of pressure just to get it to drop, to literally click into place. But it should sit almost like it's sort of flat and in line with sort of, you know, all these parts. And what there is a little magnet in the side of there. Now that is pretty solid on for me. I don't need to tighten this screw at all, but if you do, only tighten it enough until you feel resistance. It just needs to be enough that it holds it in place, nothing more. That's it, otherwise you're potentially going to break something, okay? So the next part we're going to need then is we're going to bring this in, and what we're going to be doing is this part is going to sit around here like that. It's just going to drop in there, and we're going to be securing, putting the two little control boards onto here. We're going to take these screws out and put the control boards in, and then this will move up and down, and the boards will detect that movement. So I'm just going to undo these screws. It looks like they are Torx head. They're not 10s, I bet they're 8s. They're actually an Allen key head, but so basically, be careful that you don't lose the little nuts out of there. Now you can see in there, I'll point it out actually, so you can see there is a ridge right there and a ridge right there. Now this holding piece has got two little gaps underneath, as you can see. One right there where my thumb is, there we go, and one there where my little finger's pointing. They are supposed to sit on that ridge, okay? So it's going to drop in on that ridge, just like that. Now that doesn't move, perfect. What I'm supposed to do now is this board slots in and on, and it sits under this lip here and the lip on the other side. Now what I need to do is put that screw back in that I've just removed. Now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to use, what's that, a T8. Let's find the T8 in the small one. That's a 9, that's why that's not fixing. That's 6. That's a 7. But the T8 is the one and only one I am missing. Right, we're going to have to just make do then, aren't we? T10. So it would appear I am missing my T8 bit, so I'm just going to have to wing it a little bit. So I'm just going to drop that in. In fact, do you know what? Oh, look at that, T8. There we go, you beauty. So I'm just going to do that. Now what happens with this is we secure this board down like that, and then bring in the other board, which then again wedges under this lip here. Now I can see at the minute, oh there we go, look, that comes forward. Now this board doesn't, at this side, doesn't particularly do anything as such. What it is doing is it's helping to sort of secure this part and stop it from moving and jiggling about. So what we do is we then tighten this down, got there in the end, didn't we? That one. That one. Now, what it says now is, if that moves at all, which mine is rock solid, it's going nowhere, what I can do is I can quarter or half turn these little grub screws, and it lowers the grub screws down to lift the whole thing up to brace it tighter and tighter against there. Now that is literally going nowhere, so I don't need to. That's of no concern to me. At this point now, I am ready to assemble it and calibrate the trigger. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I should be able to put that, in fact I'm not, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to get a battery, I'm going to go and grab a battery, and then we're going to have a go at calibrating the trigger, and I'm going to put it in safe to begin with. So I'll be back in 1 second. So the guide says that we need to assemble everything back together, so I'm just going to slide that in. Make sure it's not catching, it's not. That's heading back. The nozzle is in, and there we go. So it's assembled. So what we should be doing now is connecting a battery up, and we're going to calibrate the trigger to make sure that safe is always safe. So get the beep. So now what I should be doing is, I'll keep this out of the way, is if I think it's two press on this. So we're in programming mode. So next I need to go to, so that's firing mode that we're on. Then we're going to go to, that's burst mode. That's AB. Pre-cocking. Trigger sensitivity. Purple and red is trigger sensitivity. Then it's rate of fire reduction. Then it's LiPo alarm. Then it's DSG mode. Then it's calibrate trigger. There we go. Now we're on the, so all I've done is use the button there to cycle through. So we're now on the trigger calibration, which is purple and blue lights, which is what we've got. So we're just going to pull the trigger for a few seconds until we get that sound. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it to safe. I'm going to pull the trigger really hard and hold it, and I'm going to press the button, and we'll get a green light. And then I'm going to put it to single and pull hard and click, and then I'm going to put it to auto, pull, hold, and now our trigger is calibrated. So now we should be in safe, nothing, single shot, and full auto. So we've got no more of that sort of spongy trigger with a click. We've got, I'm barely touching the trigger. Safe. I am, wow. Perun, wow. So we got there in the end. I'll mop up some of the things with a little bit of editing as well, just to make it a smoother experience. But the main thing is obviously the trigger block just needs obviously putting down first and the board screwing to it. Replacing those screws and things like that are just absolutely pretty simple, to be honest. And now I've done it once, I could do that a lot quicker in future. The feature set then on here for doing firing modes, burst count, the AB level, pre-cocking as well. You have got a full MOSFET in there with no real modification at all. Well, with no modification at all. And we've got rid of those old things. So I'm going to switch back to the review. There'll be a little bit of footage of it being used on a game day. A little bit of footage of it rate of fire testing again with the batteries that we tested it with before. I hope that's been helpful to you and useful to you. I look forward to seeing you again. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.